Midwest, 570 WNAX.
And a good afternoon. Welcome back to your afternoon 5-State Farm Report. Danielle Drotzman, your host here for 570 WNAX. Want to take a moment to thank our sponsors, the Smet Farm Mutual Insurance, Fordyce Co-op, and Total Auctions and Real Estate for bringing you the afternoon 5-State Farm Report. Well, as we continue throughout your program here today, we have a guest we are excited to welcome on. I have with me Madalyn Shires. She is the SDSU Extension Plant Pathology Field Specialist. So, Madalyn, thank you for joining us here today on WNAX. And how are you doing on this Wednesday?
I'm doing pretty good, trying to stay out of the heat as much as possible.
Absolutely, yes. I think there's some cooler temperatures on the horizon, so that will always be appreciated in this July weather. So, but I guess we're excited to get you on and just get an update on disease and, you know, what's kind of been going on in that area for this growing season. So, I mean, you are based in the Brookings area, so I guess what have you kind of been hearing about crops so far? Have you had many concerns from farmers this growing season so far, or I guess any update there?
Yeah, so as a whole, we haven't really had a ton of disease issues this just yet. We do typically start seeing an uptick in diseases in our corn and soybeans kind of as we start into August. If you grow wheat, you may have dealt with wheat streak mosaic virus. That's kind of what we've spent the last couple of months chasing and documenting and trying to get a grasp on why it was so bad this year, like it was in 2025. But yeah, overall, our biggest theme has been that the drought has led to a massive reduction so far in disease issues. We've not really had any reports of anything too much. We have had some root rots coming in that are driven by drought, and that's been mostly in soybeans. But honestly, outside of that, just kind of a slower summer for diseases.
Gotcha. And I guess that's always okay. I mean, it kind of stinks that we're not getting the rain, but it's good because, you know, it hasn't been so bad for disease. But I guess we could just talk about maybe like a normal year, you know, anything specific for at least corn that you kind of have been keeping tabs on. I know there were some maybe new diseases that have maybe made an appearance here kind of in South Dakota in the past couple years, but I guess anything just specific you've been watching out for.
Yeah, so in corn specifically, we've mostly been watching tar spot disease and southern rust. I did actually get a report from Nebraska yesterday that both of those diseases are right at the South Dakota border. So we may very well start seeing development of those diseases in kind of our far southeast counties. That's typically where we see those two come in at, usually at the same time because they're both blown by the wind. So yeah, that's kind of been, you know, our biggest issues that we've been following in corn. We don't expect to see as much southern rust as 2025. Obviously, if we get some moisture here in August, that could kind of change that crop outlook. But for now, if we kind of persist with weather and temperatures and stuff as we have been, you know, we're expecting southern rust. It's definitely going to show up this year, but it hopefully won't be to the levels it was last year where it was causing yield loss.
Gotcha. And I mean, is that something you can kind of like you can spray for or prepare for, or, you know, is there a way you can manage that, or is it just kind of it is what it is?
Yeah, so for southern rust specifically, there are several fungicides out there that could be effective, and it is one of those, usually our fungicides are preventative, but we also don't want to be spraying fungicides too early because then we've wasted that money for a fungicide application. So I would definitely recommend, you know, scouting fields. It's good. It's a very noticeable disease, and it does usually start showing up on field borders. And so that's typically what we advise is, you know, start looking for those disease symptoms. And if you've not seen southern rust before, it looks like orange Cheeto dust on corn leaves. And start looking for that. And if you start seeing it, once you've hit whatever your action threshold may be, if that's 15%, 20%, et cetera, there are definitely some fungicide options out there to control it. As far as tar spot, we don't generally recommend spraying for it unless you've had issues of tar spot in years past, or if you're corn on corn and had tar spot in previous years.
Gotcha. And I guess kind of switching gears here a little bit, I know one thing I saw on your extension page was something about grass diseases, which honestly, I didn't even really know that was a thing for grass. I mean, I guess everything can get some sort of disease, but anything specific on the grass side of things when you look at disease?
Yeah, so grasses, kind of if you think about wheat getting diseases, grasses get a lot of the same diseases that wheat and oats get. We know in yard grasses, we're probably going to start seeing a lot of rust in those grasses, and there are some fungicides that can be used to kind of keep those levels down. If you go out and your yard is turning orange, that's probably what's happening. And then, in pasture grasses and stuff like that, we'll also start seeing rust. I know that there was some barley yellow dwarf virus earlier this year. But yeah, they definitely get diseases, and the reason that we keep an eye out on those grass diseases is because they serve as alternate hosts for our row crop diseases in wheat and corn.
Gotcha. So definitely something we should just keep an eye out on. But the other important thing to note is that farmers can always reach out to you, send pictures, send an email, whatever it may be. If they're dealing with something or just have questions, that is definitely always an option.
Yeah, most definitely. And if they can't reach out to me or they're more comfortable and want to go in person, they can go to the plant diagnostic clinic. That's also kind of under my umbrella, and that's generally open 8 to 5 every day during the business week. And we have at least one staff member in there that can do in-person talks and diagnoses on disease.
Perfect. And you guys will also be at Dakota Fest too, I think. And so farmers could maybe stop by there if they're going to be in Mitchell that week.
Yes, we'll be there at least Tuesday and Wednesday, but my goal right now is to try to have at least part of my team there all 3 days.
Gotcha. All right. Well, if you're in the area for Dakota Fest, maybe stop by the SDSU booth if you have some questions. So anything to wrap up on here today, Madalyn? That's kind of all I have for you, or any message to leave with those farmers?
I guess my biggest message is corn diseases are probably imminent, and it's good to start getting out there and scouting your fields. Maybe not today when it's super hot, but if we cool down like we're forecast to, it'd definitely be a good time to get out there and start walking around and seeing if you have anything in your field.
Absolutely. All right, Madalyn, thank you for joining us here today. It was a pleasure to visit with you, so have a great rest of your day, and again, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Perfect. All right, that's Madalyn Shires. She is the SDSU Extension Plant Pathology Field Specialist joining us here today on your afternoon 5-State Farm Report. So we'll take a quick break, and then we'll take a look at your cash grain numbers here at the end of the hour. So stay tuned.
Cows moo. Pigs oink. Keith and Danielle